Hey guys, Mark here from Ratings.com, and today we're doing a quick comparison between the Apple AirPods 2 with the wireless charging case and the original Apple AirPods. The AirPods were somewhat ahead of the curve when they were originally released. They had a more stable connection and a fairly decent latency for a truly wireless option, especially when paired to iOS devices. So how does the AirPods 2 compare? And having a somewhat identical design, are the AirPods 2 worth the upgrade? Well, in this review, we'll compare the design, sound, isolation, and leakage, which you get to hear for yourself later on in the video, as well as the active features and connection options. Also, we're proud to announce that we've reached the 100,000 subscriber mark and wanted to thank you for your support. We strive to help you find the best products for your needs, and if you feel like we've left anything out, let us know in the comments or check out our website for more than 600 in-depth reviews. But as always, let's start with what's in the box. As for what's in the box, as usual, Apple keeps it fairly simple and don't have that much content for both headphones. For the AirPods 2, you have a USB to Lightning port charging cable, the manuals, the wireless charging case, and the AirPod 2 headphones. It's pretty much the same for the regular AirPods, so USB to Lightning port charging cable, the manuals, the regular charging case, but you can get a wireless one if you want to, the AirPods, and that's pretty much it. Now let's get the boxes out of the way and compare the design. For the build quality, there's essentially no difference between the AirPods 2 and the original AirPods. Both headphones have a sleek, uniform design that looks great. They also come with a compact carrying case that easily fits in your pockets and will protect the earbuds well against damage. The AirPods 2 can be purchased with a case that supports Qi wireless charging, which we'll talk a bit more in detail in the active features section, but you can also purchase the same wireless charging case for the original AirPods. The second generation AirPods also do not have an official IP rating and do not mention any improved sweat or water resistance, so there's practically no difference between the two models in terms of build quality. They both still have the somewhat long stalks that stick out of your ears that could be more susceptible to breaking than some of the more compact and denser truly wireless designs that we've tested, like the Jabra Elite 65T or the B&O Play E8 2.0. However, we've had our original AirPods in the office for more than a year, and we use them daily, and they've held up quite well, so we assume the AirPods 2 should be equally as durable in the long run. As for comfort, here too nothing much has changed. The iconic one-size-fits-all design of the AirPods and the AirPods 2 is great for some, but won't be the most stable option for everyone. The smooth finish, angled design of the earbuds combined with the lightweight build quality makes them one of the more comfortable truly wireless headphones that we've tested, if they're the right fit for your ears. Unfortunately, since they do not come with any tip options or stability fins to adjust their fit for different ear shapes and sizes, they won't be the best for everyone. You can purchase third-party fins for both the AirPods and AirPods 2 to help them make them a bit more stable for your ears if you often work out with your headphones. However, these are not included in the box, which is slightly disappointing. Lastly, for the control scheme, and here there's no major changes or improvements over the previous iteration. The AirPods 2 have the same control scheme as the original AirPods, which is a bit limited. Your default setup when pairing the headphones for the first time isn't particularly useful. However, you can button map the double tap functions for each earbud to either trigger voice assistance, play, pause, skip, or rewind tracks. This means that you have to choose between the functions that you need the most, since you won't be able to map more than 2 functions on each earbud. And there's no option for volume controls, which is disappointing. This may be a deal breaker for some, especially if you do not like to adjust volume levels on your phone or wireless device. And really, the only difference in control scheme between the second generation compared to the original AirPods is the always-on Hey Siri feature. This means you don't have to map voice assistant to one of the earbuds and could have both buds set to media controls for skipping and rewinding tracks. You can also use the auto ear detection feature to pause or resume your music when you take the AirPods out of your ears. Unfortunately, it still feels like a limited control scheme that we wish had a bit more functionality, like triple taps or long presses, similar to other truly wireless designs. Overall, the AirPods 2 will not be worth the upgrade design-wise, since they're pretty much identical to the original AirPods. They have the same build quality, fit, and controls. And really, the only differences are the always-on Hey Siri feature of the second gen, which is not as useful, and the Qi wireless charging case, which you can always purchase separately for the original AirPods. With that being said, let's compare the sound quality, isolation, and leakage with Sam.
In terms of sound quality, the first and second generation AirPods are basically identical. They lack quite a bit of thump and rumble in the bass range and are a bit bright in the treble range. So they won't be great for bass-heavy music, but should do well for other kinds of music. Now, before looking at their measurement results, we are going to play a recording we have done with these headphones, so you can get an idea about how their sound compares for yourself. Just keep in mind that this is a relative comparison and not an absolute one. So it is good for seeing which headphone has more bass or treble, for example, but you won't be able to judge the actual sound profile. And if you get one of these headphones and listen to the same track that we've used here, you most likely won't hear the same thing. Here, we have the frequency response of the second generation AirPods on the left and the original AirPods on the right. And as you can see, they measure basically the same. There is quite a bit of lag in the low bass region, which is due to their open earbud design. This means they won't produce any thump or rumble, which is important if you listen to bass-heavy music. From mid-bass to mid-mid, the response is quite flat and well-balanced, so their bass does have some punch to it, and the fundamental frequencies of most instruments, including vocals and leads, will be reproduced quite well. However, high-mid and the entire treble range are noticeably overemphasized, making the sound of these headphones rather bright, especially if you consider their lacking low bass. Overall, they will do well with vocal-centric music, but if you listen to bass-heavy music, these probably aren't for you. In terms of frequency response consistency, the AirPods are prone to quite a bit of inconsistency in both the bass and treble ranges. So depending on the quality of the fit you are able to achieve with these headphones, their sound profile could range from rather bassy and boomy to quite bright with no bass at all. In our measurements of the second generation AirPods, we try to show their inconsistency in a way that will represent the real-life performance a bit better. But we expect them to perform the same as the first generation AirPods in this test. Now for isolation and leakage, we have also recorded a comparison, which we're going to play now. First up is isolation. As you can see, the isolation performance of the AirPods is quite poor, which is due to their open earbud design. This means they will let in almost all of the sounds around you, from the bass of the airplane engines to the sound of the air conditioning system and people talking. However, this can be very useful if you want to stay aware of the sounds in your environment. For example, when you go for a jog and want to hear the nearby cars. Now, let's listen to the leakage recording. The AirPods leak noticeably more compared to closed-back in-ears, which barely leak, but they also leak quite a bit less than most over-ear and on-ear headphones. The leakage of the AirPods will be concentrated in the treble range, meaning the sound leaking out of these headphones will be quite thin and mostly consist of S and Ts. Overall, you don't have to worry about the leakage of the AirPods at moderate volumes, but if you are blasting your music in a relatively quiet environment, like an office, then the people around you may be able to hear the leakage. Now let's go back to Mark for the active features.
For the active features, starting with the wireless range, here are the AirPods 2 are slightly better than the original AirPods, but not by much. The AirPods 2 reached up to 46 feet when compared to the original 41 feet when the Bluetooth source was obstructed. This is about the same for both headsets and won't have a significant impact on your day-to-day use. However, the AirPods 2 do much better in direct line of sight at 150 feet versus 91 feet for the originals. This makes the AirPods 2 slightly more suitable if you're often paired to fixed sources like your iMac or TV. Also, range could be a lot better with a Bluetooth 5.0 source. For latency, the AirPods 2 with the H1 chip is supposed to perform 30% better with iOS devices than the original AirPods. However, we measured about 204 milliseconds for the AirPods 2 and retested the original AirPods with our more recent dongle and got 185 milliseconds of latency, slightly up from the 169 millisecond value. Unfortunately, our current test equipment only goes up to Bluetooth 4.2 for now and does not have any special interactions with the H1 or W1 chips, which could be compensating quite a bit for latency on iOS devices. Overall, like most Bluetooth headphones, they won't be the best choice for watching videos or gaming on your phone, but if you have an iOS device, you will barely notice any delay. As for battery life, not much has changed either. The second generation AirPods lasted about 4.1 hours, the original AirPods 4.8, but this is within the margin of variance of our battery test. It's not the longest lasting headphones on a single charge, unlike the Galaxy Buds. However, you do get 5 potential recharges in the case for a total of more than 20 hours of battery life. And the AirPods charge fully in 30 minutes, which is one of the fastest charge times that we've tested for any truly wireless design. You also have the addition of Qi wireless charging support if you get the wireless charging case variant of the AirPods 2. However, you can also purchase the same case separately for the older model and achieve the same effect. It's a convenient feature, especially with the more recent iPhones that support wireless charging. And overall, both headphones should have enough battery life for most use cases, as long as you take a few breaks here and there during your listening sessions. Unfortunately, we noticed that after heavy use, the battery of our first-gen AirPods has started to deteriorate. It barely lasts 2 hours now, which may also be the case for the AirPods 2 in the long run. Then again, all batteries somewhat deteriorate over time, especially with so many recharges and when used on a daily basis like we do with our unit. However, if your AirPods are still in good shape, then just getting the wireless charging case will be a better value than upgrading to the AirPods 2. For the app and software support, sadly, both the AirPods 2 and the original AirPods do not have a proper app with in-depth customization options like some of the other truly wireless headsets that we've tested. Instead, they have a simple interface that shows battery information for the buds and the case once paired to your iOS device. You also get a few more options to tweak in the Bluetooth settings, like the aforementioned button mapping for each bud and disabling the auto ear detection feature. That's about it though, so no 5-band EQ, no room effects, and no auto off settings, which means the AirPods and AirPods 2 will be a lot less customizable than some of the other truly wireless headphones that we've tested. On the upside, you can use the Find My iPhone app to also find the earbuds, which is nice. Lastly, for the connection options, the AirPods 2 are Bluetooth 5.0 headphones with the H1 chip, an upgrade from the original AirPods 4.2 with the W1 chipset. However, this means that they may have a considerably better performance than what we've measured here once paired to an iOS device with Bluetooth 5.0. On the other hand, the cases are about the same and both come with fairly short lightning cables to recharge the headsets. And since you can get a wireless case for both models, technically the AirPods 2 and the original AirPods support Qi wireless charging. However, you will have to purchase a wireless charger separately. So overall, should you upgrade to the AirPods 2 or stick with the original AirPods? Well, for most people who already have the original AirPods, it won't be worth it. They have the same sleek design and great build quality. They're also comfortable for most with a one-size-fits-all design that you either love or hate, depending on your ears. They also have the same control scheme, which is fairly limited and doesn't give you any volume controls, and the always-on Hey Siri feature won't be useful enough to replace the missing functionality. Lastly, the sound profile is also the same and lacks a bit of bass for most listeners, but the AirPods 2 are Bluetooth 5.0 headphones though, so you could have a much better performance in terms of range and latency, especially on iOS devices. So if you have the latest iPhone and are getting your first AirPods, then go for the second generation. It most likely will give you a slightly better performance. However, if your first gen AirPods are still in good shape, then the AirPods 2 won't be worth the upgrade, especially since you can purchase the wireless charging case separately. And that's pretty much it. You can check out all our measurements on our website. And if you like this video, subscribe to our channel or become a contributor. Also, we're currently hiring in our offices in Montreal for various positions. So if you want to help people find the best products for their needs, have a look at our careers page on our website. Thank you for watching. See you next time.